Okay. Well, hello everyone. This is Sabir Hassan, and I welcome you all for today's live session on entrepreneurship, environmental farming, powered by Anna. So, on today's webinar, we would be talking about spilling the tea on entrepreneurship, navigating the world of wellness and business with Dessoi, with our fellow speaker Alekhya Madiraju. And so, she is the founder of Dessoi, a wellness and lifestyle brand dedicated to crafting 100% natural herbal and green teas aimed at promoting holistic health. With a background in HR, strategy, and operations from her 4 years in corporate roles, Alekhya combines with her experience with passion for wellness and quality. Under her leadership, the soy has rapidly expanded, becoming a trusted name for premium tea blends sourced from Assam, formulated with Ayurvedic principles. Alekhya's commitment to transparency and quality has led to high-profile collaborations such as those with Audi, Mercedes, and she continues to drive Desoi's mission of delivering authentic wellness and experience to working. First of all, thank you, ma'am, for joining us today, and I'm
Thank you so
hoping
much
that we
for
will have a
having
very
me.
productive session. So I would actually like to start with just a very brief, if you could give a very brief idea about what you are trying to achieve or what you're trying to do here. So that would be great.
Okay, great. So Dessoi basically started, the idea for Dessoi started a couple of years back. It was fueled
All right.
by my own personal health journey. And
Mm-hmm.
through Dessoi, what we're trying to achieve is that we want to promote the idea of holistic health. Health is not a number on the scale, health is not a dress size, right? Health is how you feel on the inside and the outside. And Ayurveda has, the power and the ability to kind of help you on your journey to holistic health. And India, as we know, is a nation of chai. It's a nation of tea. Not only are we one of the largest producers, but we're also one of the largest consumers of tea. So through Desoi, the idea was to bring these two powerhouses together of tea and Ayurveda, and give people an option and a beverage that helps them on their holistic health journey, but without any of the added preservatives, any of the added chemicals, and nothing that is not naturally available is added to their teas. So that's the fundamental idea behind Desoy. Um, yeah.
So your particular venture, which is the soy, how does it stand out from the crowd of these Ayurveda companies which is out there, or that I would say plethora of them because there are thousands of them. So
Right.
what's very unique about it that stands out?
So I'll tell you something very honestly, right? Before we kind of went live with Desoy in February of this year, I did about 6 to 8 months of market research to kind of identify, listen, is there a need for another health and wellness brand in the market? Is there a need for a Desoy, right? Because as a consumer brand, our idea first and foremost is to service our consumers, is to give them the best product to our abilities and to meet a need that they have. So we did extensive research for about 6 to 8 months to see, is there a need for this product? Is there a market for this product? And we identified certain gaps which kind of helped us then distinguish Desoy, right? One of the main things, and like I said in my previous answer, Desoy is tied back to my own health journey. So I'll give you a little bit context about that. So in the lockdown, I made the switch from coffee and caffeine related beverages to herbal tea, because again, I was consuming excessive amounts of caffeine, which was giving me jitters. And that's when I made the switch to herbal teas. But what I noticed is that a lot of herbal teas had a couple of issues for me personally. Either it had a bitter aftertaste,
Mhm.
which a lot of people say is just how herbal tea is supposed to taste, right? You're supposed to have that slight kadwaness or that slight bitterness at the end.
Mhm.
Or the second one, it had added flavors, which are artificial flavors, which is not something I felt
Right.
comfortable drinking, because I'm drinking it for the health benefits. Doesn't make sense if it's
Yeah.
artificial. Or the third thing is that a lot of products which are labeled herbal tea, if you flip the back of the label and you see it does not contain any real tea, it is
Mhm.
basically just dried herbs. Which, I mean, if that's your intention, that's something called a herbal tisane. If that's the intention, then great. But If when I buy something called tea, I would expect tea in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are a few gaps that we noticed, which is what we're trying to address with Dasoi, right? One motto that
Yeah.
we stand by is that it is 100% natural, it is 100% ethically sourced, and we get it from my co-founder's estate back in Assam. So we
Hmm.
have complete control over the quality. And the
So,
other thing,
yeah, go on.
yeah, so I think, and the other thing is that, the way that we blend our tea, it's a patented formulation that we use to blend
Mm.
our tea, which will give you a no bitterness guarantee. So we say that,
Okay.
you can forget about the tea for 1 hour, you can brew it hot, forget about it,
Yeah.
take a sip, it will still not be bitter.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
So,
And yes.
here's a very fundamental question comes to my mind is that what what does a herbal tea or an Ayurvedic tea means, and how is it different from the normal tea that we get on the market? Like, is it something which has a blend, or is it something has an extract? How is it different?
So the regular tea okay, so in tea, right, there are certain types, right? You, of course,
Yeah.
have your different, you have your black tea, you have your green tea, you have your yellow tea, you have white tea.
Mm,
You have six fundamental types of tea. Of
mm,
this, what we normally see in the market is a type of black tea, which is the milk tea, right? Which you mix with milk and sugar and you drink.
yeah.
So that's processed in a different way. So herbal tea
Mm,
is basically a combination of tea and herbs, which are blended in certain ratios so that it
mm,
retains that kadakness of tea, but you add on the health benefits of the herbs as well. And the way that these
mm.
formulations are made is rooted in Ayurveda. For example, Ayurveda tells you that ginger is a super herb. Ginger is something that
Yeah.
will help with your digestion. It is something that will help with your gut health and with your immunity. So, in our digestive tea and in our immunity tea, ginger is one of the prime ingredients that we use. That goes back to our learnings of Ayurveda. So, when we say herbal tea, it's a combination of these two, and it's a non-milk tea. It's something that you drink without milk. Typically, we recommend without sugar, but we say that you can add a sweetener, and when we say sweetener, we recommend honey, because again, honey is easier to dissolve in herbal tea, and second, honey comes with its own medical properties, right? It has
Yeah.
anti-inflammatory properties, it's good for your skin, it helps with your gut health. So we say you can add a little bit of honey if you find it, if you like a sweeter taste. So
Mm,
that's the fundamental difference, right? In herbal tea also, there are two big things. One is herbal tea, which has actual tea in it. The other is herbal tisane. Herbal tisanes are basically made by putting just herbs in hot water. There is no real tea there. So when you see
yeah.
a lot of the chamomile tea in the market, right? If you flip it, the only ingredient is chamomile flowers. In that case, that's a herbal tisane. That's not a herbal tea because there's no tea in it.
Okay. All right. So most of these tea companies which are selling these uh, teas in the market in the name of herbal tea is just extract of the flavors rather than the actual tea is not being
Yeah, it's actually
inside the
herbal
same.
tisane. If you flip the packaging, right, per government norms,
Hmm.
there are certain declarations that we're required to make. Your
Hmm.
product type there will always be herbal tisane or will always be herbal blend. It will not be herbal tea because it's not fundamentally a herbal tea. Because
So
there are certain guidelines laid down by the Tea Board of
mhm.
India as well for us to call a product a tea.
Exactly. So here's another question comes to mind. Since these companies who are branding these tea, rather this herbal so-called tea, uh, so why they are branding it about only about as a tea in the sense like isn't they violating those provisions which have been laid down by the Tea Board of India, or there's a loophole they have been catering to?
Probably is what I would say. But the thing is, it's also from a customer standpoint, right? Customers still need
Mhm.
to kind of be educated, and we need to build, which is what we are also doing, build customer
Mhm.
awareness to help them
Mhm.
distinguish between herbal tea and herbal tisane. Because a lot of customers
Mm.
don't know that they are two different things. So, again, there are certain guidelines that the Tea Board of India has. If you want to kind of be certified by the Tea Board of India, which Dessoi is, right? We are a certified tea brand as per the Tea Board of India. In any tea, the flavoring that you add, the herbs that you add, has to be 5% or less for you to be qualified as a tea.
Mm-hmm.
So the minute you add anything more than that,
Mm-hmm.
you are not a tea. So the
Mm-hmm.
workaround or the approach that a lot of these companies follow, I'm sure, is that they put an asterisk at the back and say that, it's not really herbal tea, it's a herbal infusion or it's a herbal tisane.
Okay.
So that's the
So,
approach that they follow.
hmm. How is Dessoi trying to work on this sensitization issue? Like, does it run maybe campaigns or social media campaigns where you differentiate between what is a herbal tea and Estoin or something like that? So,
Yeah. So we do that regularly through our social media. We also have newsletters that we send out to customers. We have content and blogs on our website that we regularly post. So, and also when we meet customers, right, at pop ups, at exhibitions, at flea markets, we kind of try to spread awareness and tell them that, listen, this is herbal tea and this is long leaf herbal tea, right? This is not the crushed leaf that you get in the market. This is how it's different. And a lot of times at exhibitions, we ask people to give it a taste because once you can taste the blend, you will understand the difference in the leaf. You will understand the uniqueness of the leaf. So that's how we approach it. We do kind of educate our customers on added flavors, on holistic health, on Ayurveda. So we would like to, kind of be a brand that relates and resonates with our audience.
okay. So, there's a lot of legacy tea companies in the country because, of course, India is a land of tea. People love tea
Correct.
here. So, how does Desoi plan to compete with these legacy tea makers?
I'll be very honest, right? Dessoi is not competing with
Okay.
legacy tea makers, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are right, there are a lot of legacy brands because India has kind of always been a tea country. Coffee
Yeah.
is now kind of picking up, but fundamentally, we've always been a tea country, right? So, and a lot of these legacy brands are started by some of the oldest business houses in the country that I have grown up hearing about and reading about and drawing inspiration from. So these are not brands that we want to compete with, right? Firmly
Mhm.
believe that our messaging, our formulation, and our blend is what sets us apart. And our aim is to kind of find our audience that we resonate with. Because genuinely, in such a large country with such a large population that drinks this
Mhm.
beverage, there is a niche that we can carve out for ourselves.
All right. So, how exactly, when you say or when you claim that the tea leaves which is being sourced from Assam is being sourced ethnically, so what does ethnically sourced tea looks like, or how does one source tea ethnically that doesn't really impact the surroundings or maybe the environment? Because when we hear about tea farms, there are a lot of issues being connected with. For example, there's
Correct.
labor issues, there are issues relating environmental degradation. So what is ethnically sourced tea means?
Right. So when we say ethically sourced tea, right, it basically for us as Desoi, it means that we are fair to our team at the estate. We are fair
Yeah.
to compliances and we
Mm,
are fair to our land and we do justice to our tea and to our land. The
mhm,
estate that we source from also has something called a trustee certification, which
mhm,
is not something that's given out very commonly. It is something that's
mhm,
given out after rigorous checks, and it shows that that the estate follows ethical farming practices, ethical labor practices, and they are fair and they are transparent in their approaches. So we
mhm,
source from a trustee certified estate. So that's what we mean by when we say ethically sourced, right? We do not undercut
mhm,
our workers, we do not undercut our farmers. We do not undercut those at the estate or those at the factory. We
mhm,
source the premium grade.
mhm,
And honestly, we kind of try and give back as well to the estate and to the workers there through, trainings, through upliftment programs and all of that.
mhm. Um, what I understand is Deso is a fairly new company. We started in
Yeah,
February in this year itself.
correct.
So how does one, like a fairly new company with a very lot of companies involved in around this particular space, how does one create a brand image for itself that could actually stand out? Or maybe if someone is very much starting, how can actually work upon creating a brand brand image. That would be really helpful because you've also mentioned how you have able to cater, consumers like these big companies like Audi and Mercedes. So how does one do that?
Right. I think today, in today's climate, the one of the most important things for creating a brand identity that cannot be overlooked is storytelling. Because I think we've moved past that stage where brands are transactional, right? Like you show an ad talking about this is my product, this is how much it costs, this is how it'll help you buy it. Those
Yep.
kind of things don't really work anymore because a consumer has so many options at so many different price points, which give them so many different benefits. To set yourself apart and to create an identity and a community, I think the most important thing is storytelling. You have to have a purpose driven brand, right? Like, why did you start what you started? How is it helping you? How does it cater to the market? What do you bring? Like for me, like I told you in the beginning, right? Desoi stemmed from a very personal health journey. And the minute we put out this story, and I kind of started speaking to people that this is my story and this is why we started Desoi, it resonated with a lot of people. So I think one of the prime necessities today to build a brand is to storytell, which I know is not something a lot of founders could be comfortable in, coming in front
Yep.
of a camera, putting a reel of yourself on Instagram or talking about it. But if that's not your medium, then I think pick a medium that works for you, right? It could be voiceovers, it could be carousel posts, it could be some way, but the story of your brand is something that I think needs to be out there. So I think that's a huge thing that will help with branding. Apart from, obviously talk about what sets you apart, how you're different, what you bring to the market, all of that. But definitely start with telling your story of why you're doing what you're doing.
Um, so I also like to understand this is that you have fair amount of experience in these, marketing sector and corporate sector, if I believe. So, what kind of experiences or learnings that you have able to cater from your past experience that helped you to build this brand better and reach out to the audience?
I think a lot of the way that I operate Dessoi, right, is basis my previous
Mm-hmm.
learnings, is a result of the kind of people I've worked with and the teams that I worked with, right? I've been very grateful to work with some brilliant people in my previous companies over my corporate experience, my internships and all of that. And a lot of those learnings are things that still stay with me today, right? For example, my previous firm emphasized a lot on learning Excel, which is something that I carry now, right? All of my projections, all of our sales, all of our finances, everything happens through an Excel dashboard. And that's something I built as a result of my previous experience. So I think for me, that experience is something that was invaluable, right? As a fresher who was out of college, I
Yeah.
learned the world of business. I learned the world of, because when I joined, my previous company was very small. It had about 100 employees in that, no, 50 employees in that office. So I knew everyone on a first name basis. So I've seen it grow to now having about 700 employees in that office. So when you see it grow from not 0 to 1, but 0 to 100 over such a short period of time, you're
Yeah.
also doing a lot at once and you're learning a lot at once, which is what happened with
Mm-hmm.
me. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of those learnings, a lot of those takeaways, both tangible and intangible, play a huge part in how I operate in Desoi right now. So a lot of my
I-
managerial style, for example, is very similar to that of my first manager. She's someone I draw massive inspiration from. So yeah, I mean, it obviously has a plays a huge role in how I run Desoi and how we work at Desoi.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate being really frank about how Excel is a very important part of the business and how it's very much important
Absolutely.
in, running and understanding a business. I would also like to know is that how has been the journey so far? So you started the company back in February, and now it's almost about to be a year now. So
Yeah,
I'd like to understand how is the traction building going on, and how the customers are responding, and what are the changes that you have or the tweaks you
made.
have done to the company that
Yeah.
helped you grow.
So I'll be very honest, right? When people ask me how Dessoi is going, the
Mm.
first answer that comes to my mind is that A, it's a roller coaster, and B, it's a trial and error,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Every single month, if you see our website, there are changes because we,
Mm.
every single month, we take feedback from our customers and we make it better. The
Mm.
website that we started with in February is very different from the website that we have today because
Okay.
we have changed, for example, we have changed our product titles to make it simpler for people to understand the health benefits that are associated with each blend. We have changed the
Yeah.
images so people can
Mhm.
clearly see the ingredients that are there in each tea without having to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page.
Mhm.
We have added a section there which talks about our story.
Mhm.
So a lot of it is, tweaking based on customer preferences. But in terms of, if I have to say how the traction has been, the first 2 to 3 months was just us trying to find our footing, right? What we call
Yeah.
typically the go-to-market phase, where we've entered the
Mm.
market and we are trying to find customers. So during that phase, how I approached it is we did a lot of offline events. We connected
Mm.
with
Okay.
customers face to face. We gave out samples of our
Mhm.
tea. We asked them to try it and give us feedback. So we handed
Mhm.
out samples at flea market, at exhibitions, at fests, and a
Mhm.
lot of, and once people tried the sample, their response was so overwhelmingly positive that about 90% of the
Mhm.
people who've tried a sample have ended up purchasing a bottle. And
Okay.
after,
Interesting.
we kind of got that confidence that, okay, people are trying it, people are really liking it. We've
Mhm.
also started to scale online and on marketplaces like Amazon and Flipkart.
Mm.
So, in over the last, I would say about 9 months now, we've been fortunate to service over 500 customers,
Mhm.
both online and offline, right? And of
Yeah.
course, we do gifting with some of these massive brands, and we do want to kind of scale in gifting and retail as well. But the response has, touchwood, been really, really great, and something that, I personally never take for granted, something that I'm very, very grateful for. Because we
Mhm.
have
Mm.
customers who reorder their tea like clockwork every 25 days.
Mhm.
So we have that loyal customer base that we've kind of built now that we're very grateful for, that we also stay in contact with regularly.
Mm.
So it's been a constant learning as well.
Absolutely. Really glad to hear that. And what I would next thing that I would like to understand is that how is it a bootstrap company or did you guys
Yes.
actually? Yeah. Okay. So,
We've not raised funding as
mm.
of right now. So it's a completely bootstrapped company that we're building. So, and the intention, and it was a very conscious decision also, right, to kind of build it bootstrapped. So we are a completely bootstrapped company. We're a very lean team of about 4 people who manage everything from orders to websites to SEO to the content, all of that, right? For example, a lot of the content that you see on the website is written by me. The packaging that we follow is designed by me. So a
Okay.
lot of the things we do in house, and we're completely
Mhm.
bootstrapped, and we're a very lean team that's kind of doing this.
Mhm. So, if you don't mind telling us that what was the amount that you actually started with when you initially started this venture?
Uh, I think we started with about 2 lakhs, I think, when
Mhm.
we started. And
Mhm.
we kind of got our first lot of tea. We did the blending, and we kind of started seeing some traction. Um, but again, also, like, a lot of savings went into it, a lot of time, effort, and
Mhm.
patience went into
Yes.
it. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's been a gradual journey.
So, um, when we talk about these kind of products, which is claiming itself to be an Ayurvedic product, so does it require a certain certifications or what kind of legal requirements is required to sell these kind of products, which is regarded or tagged as Ayurvedic products?
So, firstly, we don't certify ourselves as an Ayurvedic product, right? We say it's a
Mm.
blend, it's a tea, it's a herbal tea that's blended using the
Mhm.
principles of Ayurveda. But it's not an
Okay.
Ayurvedic product.
Mm.
Because when you call
Mhm.
yourself an Ayurvedic product, there are certain licenses, there are certain certifications that you need to have, which is either by the
Mm.
Ministry of Ayush, which is, it could be certain other legal guidelines that you have to disclose to maybe the Food Safety Authority or any of those others. And we are very
Mm.
transparent about the fact that we are for our blends are formulated by a team of Ayurvedic experts using the principles of Ayurveda. But we are not an
Okay.
Ayurvedic product per se because we don't have that certification yet. We are
Okay.
still, kind of strategizing if that's the route we want to go down. But as of right now, we are
Hmm.
not an Ayurvedic product. We are a herbal tea that's blended using the principles of Ayurveda.
Hmm. Okay. So, this is a very personal question that I would like to ask you or rather address is that a lot of times, of course, it's a reality that it's a male-dominated society, and business as a whole is also male-dominated a lot of time. So, have you faced any kind of difficulty of coming up with this particular venture, and how did have you tackled those difficulties? Because we see a lot of women who have very great ideas, wish to work on these sectors, but unfortunately, they're not confident enough of coming forward because they're so worried about the difficulties with this venture comes with. So if you could just give us certain examples with that, great.
I think there have been some instances where, say for example, people don't take you seriously either because of your gender or because of your age.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, both of those have happened, right? Um, but something that I think I'm very grateful for is I have grown up seeing my parents in business, where both my mother and my father would kind of go to work, right, and would run the business. So I've always grown up with that example. So I've kind
Hmm.
of always had that support that, it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your gender, you do what you want to do. So that's the kind of support that I've been fortunate to grow up with. So for me, when I face these challenges, like where someone has not taken me seriously for for either because of my age or because of my gender, I would say it's kind of been easier for me to then put down my foot and be like, no, listen, like this is where I'm coming from. This is my company, and this is why you need to take me seriously. I understand that that comes from a position of privilege, right? There are people who might
Yeah.
not be
Yeah.
able to put their foot down in such scenarios. In such cases, I think what I would say is that it would help to have a mentor in the field. I
Hmm.
have mentors apart from my parents who are in the industry, right? And
Hmm.
the help and guidance that I have received from them has been immense. So if
Hmm.
such situations are not something that you are able to tackle on your own, I don't
Yeah.
think there's anything wrong if you ask for help from like a mentor or from a colleague, right? If that could kind of help you tackle that issue. Because
Hmm.
not specifically in this regard, but there are other challenges I've faced that I've not been able to kind of fix,
Yeah.
right? Because we're all one person at the end of the day.
Mm.
Wherein I've gone to like mentors, I've gone to like my parents or like other advisors for help, and they've kind of helped me navigate that better. So I think that might be something that could definitely help.
So when you talk about mentor, who is, how do you actually find a mentor? This is a very question that comes to my mind every time when someone talks about, this is something that my mentor said or something like that. So how does one actually able to find a mentor? And is it like a very, naturally it builds up, or do we actually keeps on searching for someone and then eventually become a mentor?
So for me, I wasn't looking for a mentor when I found like the people that I consider my mentors today, right? I found them at when I went to, so I do a lot of these networking events because I think it's important to find people who are in the similar field, who say are also founders or in a similar life space, because you brainstorm of each other and you make each other better. So
Yeah.
personally,
Yeah.
I attend a lot of networking events. At one such networking event, I met like a couple of people who were the speakers there. And after the
Okay.
event, they kind of, we were talking, and I told them what I'm trying to build with Dessoi, right? And they were thankfully
Mhm.
very interested in the idea and wanted to
Yeah.
meet and get to know it better. And over the
Mm.
last 4 months, gradually, like naturally, we've transitioned to to a place where I consider them a mentor and I go to them for advice, and I brainstorm ideas. Or if I'm having like say a low month, or if I'm facing any issue with the business, I drop them
Yeah.
a text saying, having a low month, like, or like there's a dip in sales. I'm not sure how to deal with this or what to do about it. So it's kind of reached that place naturally. But I think a good way to
Mhm.
find a mentor, especially if you're someone who's into entrepreneurship, is I think find networking events that resonate with you. Because there are a lot of networking events that happen everywhere. Not every
Mhm.
event is for you. Like, not every event is for me, right? A lot of these networking events, for example, are tech driven. At a tech driven event, I might not necessarily connect with them because we are a product based company, right? We are a D2C
Yeah.
brand. So it might be, they might be in a very different space. But I attend a lot of networking events, for example, which are for D2C brands, which are for food and beverage brands, which are for young founders. At these events is where you meet a lot of like minded people. You meet people who have done what you are doing and are now in a place where
Mhm.
they can guide you. So I think
Mhm.
networking events play a really crucial role in all of this.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
and
Thank you for
another thing,
sharing that.
sorry, just
Yeah, go on,
adding on,
please.
if you don't have access to these networking events, another good way to kind of do this is to reach out to people on LinkedIn. Because a
Mhm.
lot of these founders, right, do kind of, I've cold texted people on LinkedIn. I've dropped them a message saying,
Mhm.
"Hi, this is what I'm building. I love your journey with XXX brand, and I would love to kind of get some advice from you, some guidance from you." 7 out of 10 times, these
Mhm.
guys reply and set up a call. So
Wow.
drop that
Mhm.
text on LinkedIn, right? Get over that initial whatever inhibition you have. Even if two or three
Mhm.
of them reply, speaking to people who own two
Mhm.
or three successful brands in that space, that knowledge will be invaluable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thanks for sharing this because a lot of people don't really share the integrities which they miss, and I think those integrities are very much important to understand a business. And so, what happens, like what I've noticed, we have done kind of enough, lot of sessions with different business owners over here in this particular session itself. Particularly from Northeast, a lot of people also come by from mainland India. But I really appreciate the clarity of thought that you're going through it because
Thank
it
you.
really helps you to navigate with this all vastness around us. And keeping that in mind, I would actually like to ask you, is that Dessoi right now is primarily focusing on herbal tea. So, what are the future plans, or is there are you planning to extend the product line, or how do you
Yeah.
see Dessoi in the future?
So right now we do have a couple of product launches which are lined up for December in terms of more
Hmm.
blends as well as in terms of other products that we want to kind of launch.
Hmm.
We do like to call ourselves a wellness and lifestyle brand, right? So in the future, we do want to kind of also expand into different product categories. It could be tea accessories, it could be, say for example, spices or mixes, or we do want to kind of explore different categories. But for now, our focus is on expanding the range of blends that we have on our
Hmm.
website and also offering it to people in a more convenient manner, right? We have gotten
Yeah.
some feedback that people would like, say, a smaller trial pack or a different trial pack or more gifting
Hmm.
options. So we've taken those
Hmm.
feedback, and that's something that we're working on in the immediate future.
Absolutely. So where does one find your products, like in terms of online, or do you have a physical store?
So we currently don't have our own store, but
Hmm.
online people can find us on Amazon and they can find us on our own website, which is www.desoinaturals.com. And
Hmm.
offline, we also do retail. So they can find us at Bombay Gourmet Market. It's a gourmet supermarket in
Hmm.
Hyderabad, Pune, Bombay, Bangalore, and Rajkot. And they can find us at Delhi Essentials in Pune, as well as this store called Rural Flora, which is in Hyderabad.
Um, this is again a very interesting thought. Is that how have you able to cater the offline market? Because I understand online we have these platforms where we can sell the products, but how have you been able to reach out these stores or places where your products is stored and from where people buy it?
I think for me, a large part of building an offline presence, it was something that was very important to us, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
especially for a product like herbal tea,
Mm-hmm.
it's more of an everyday product rather than a novelty that you buy once in a while. So we would
Mhm.
want to kind of be available where customers went every day, which is a lot of
Mhm.
these supermarkets, right?
Mhm.
But of course, a lot of these mass supermarkets are slightly expensive for a homegrown bootstrap brand to list. So
Yeah.
what we did was we found partners, right? We
Mhm.
found partners who believed in the vision, who believed in the product, and were,
Mhm.
kind of ready to offer us shelf space to kind of try and place our product there.
All right.
And we've seen really good traction offline at all of these locations. We've seen really, really good traction offline. But it has been a process of building a relationship with these guys. And that's something that
Mhm.
I think is very invaluable, is like with your vendors and with your suppliers, right? Always take time
Yeah.
out to kind of build that relationship, because these
Mhm.
are people who are technically the backbone of your operations. It is,
Yeah.
of course, it is, say, for example, my brand and it is my product, but these guys also help make it what it is. And I think it's very
Yeah.
important to acknowledge that,
Mhm.
and to kind of extend that gratitude to them and maintain that relationship with them.
Absolutely. This is a very another very important point that a lot of people don't really emphasize upon. But okay, so now we are almost towards the end of this session. So what I would like to understand is that, what would be the expectations for someone, specifically a woman, who is venturing into the field of business, who have never been to this actually genre as a whole. So, what should be the expectations one must have that would help them in the future, or rather, what are your learnings that might help that particular person?
I think the biggest learning, that's something I also had to learn the hard way, is be
Hmm.
okay with making mistakes and learn from your mistakes. I think as entrepreneurs, especially if you are, like, say, a solo founder, right? Or if you
Yeah.
are someone who runs the business operation single handedly, we
Hmm.
place a lot of uh, we place a lot of expectations on ourselves to kind of
Yeah.
have it all figured out.
Hmm.
And that's not how it works, especially if you're a first time founder. Like, I'm doing this for the first time, right? There's a lot that I'm learning and I'm figuring out as I go. So be okay with making mistakes, right? Learn from those mistakes and do better. But be okay with kind of making those mistakes, and be okay with, saying that you don't know something, and, learn about it. You could get answers on the internet, you could get answers on YouTube, you could get answers through a friend, through a contact, through a mentor, right? But be open to learning, because there is so much that you learn while building a company. Um, I personally think like building a company is like a crash course MBA, right? Because there is so much
Hmm.
that you learn in such a short period of time. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I think this is my two big learnings, right? Is that, be okay with making mistakes and work on, learning from them and fixing them and doing better. The second is be open to learning new things and also unlearning what you know. There are some things that I thought this is the only way to do it, but I've learned over time that it's not, right? There are other and better ways to do it. So I've kind of had to let
Yeah.
go, and unlearn something that I've known for a while. So I think that's the two big things.
So here's another question: is that do you have an MBA background?
No, I don't. So I have a BBA. I've done a
Hmm.
bachelor's in business administration with a dual specialization in HR and entrepreneurship from Symbiosis International University. After that, I worked
Hmm.
for 4 years, and
Hmm.
now I've started Dessoi. So I don't have an MBA, but I like to think Dessoi is my MBA.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think it's more valuable than an MBA degree from a university. That's what you're trying to get here, and I really appreciate the amount of work you have put out. So, with this, I would like to actually end this session. Lastly, what I would like to ask you is that what would be that one thing that you would like to give to the maybe the audience who is seeing today or maybe in the future to let them know?
I think the one thing is whatever idea you have, there are a lot of ideas that you come across, a lot of ideas that you get in your sleep or in the shower or that you find randomly. Write them down.
Yeah.
Write everything
Okay.
down, no matter how stupid or silly or random it might seem. Just write it down, because you
Yeah.
never know when what will come back to you in what form. And,
Hmm.
write it down, and, every couple of weeks or every couple of months, spend some time going through your ideas. Out of that,
Hmm.
something or the other might strike. And the other thing is, if there is anyone in the audience who wants to kind of know more about Desoi, or who wants to talk about entrepreneurship, or the journey, or wants any questions, with my limited experience, I'm very happy to help. You guys can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can, I think you can ask the team for my number, for my email address, and they can send it across to you.
Thank you very much for giving us your time today and explaining the things and intricacies very broadly and simply, so that we could understand that. And I really appreciate for the fact that how detailed you were, and that I really hope Tessa keeps growing. And I really wish
Thank
you
you
all
so
the best
much.
for your venture. Thank you for joining today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See
Had
you.
a great time. See you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.